Hey everybody, it's your old pal Chuck, and I'm back with another review. And today, pour one out for the homies. We're taking a look at the last figure to be released under the Transformers Kingdom subline. This is Core Class Hot Rod. Now, before we begin, Hot Rod is also going to be released as part of the Legacy line. But I'm pretty sure if I've seen the correct release schedule, it's going to be a couple waves in. So if you want to get Hot Rod now, you're going to want to keep an eye out for the Kingdom release, which I'll be very honest with you, might be a little difficult to find in stores. So you might have to rely on online retailers like I did. I got this figure from commandstore.com. As of right now, this is the only US based retailer, or I should say retailer shipping from the US, that has the figure in stock that I know of. So if you don't want to pay the over $25 and then over $10 in shipping to get it from overseas, this is your best option. I should also mention they ship from New York, but I think they're based out of Quebec. So if you're a Canadian viewer, you might want to give them a shot too. We're starting off in car mode, and I gotta say, Hot Rod is one of the more involved core class figures. I think I'd put it right up there with Starscream. Now, we've seen a lot of preview photos, factory sample reviews, and stuff like that. And I think a lot of those photos and reviews really made Hot Rod look a little worse for wear out of the packaging. One thing I do want to mention right off the bat, and I don't know how well I'll be able to show this, is that when you have Hot Rod on a flat surface, a hard flat surface, you're going to run into the typical problem that you do with these smaller scale Transformer figures that use a lot of ball joints. And that's, while you'll have everything pegged together, something might be a little crooked. And as you can see, and unfortunately here, this is like a felt backdrop. And while you can see the wheels are rolling for the most part, if you're on a hard surface, it's actually angled up. Now, you could sit there and fiddle with the hips and stuff like that to get everything perfect, but I would just accept it if you have it all pegged together and it's holding together. Accept it as it is. Because really, you're going to roll this on a table with a tablecloth, carpet, or something. It should be fine. Another thing that I noticed is, as I remove the sword here, the sword has a very different design than what you see on the front of the box. Now, usually one of my main complaints for core class figures is this double grip system. This little peg here, which works with blast effects, is really for the core figure to hold the weapon. This larger peg is for larger figures. And on figures like Optimus Prime or, say, Megatron, holding the weapon looks a little awkward because it's sitting much higher in the hand. Hot Rod, it doesn't look too bad. It just looks like a little bit of a decorative hilt or something. So that's kind of nice. I mean, let's be honest. I personally don't know why they do this. I mean, any larger figure holding this is going to look smaller than a dagger. It's going to look like a Cybertronian toothpick. Another thing that I noticed while transforming it the first time is this fin is removable. You have the port there. You can peg this on. I wonder. You can actually, no. And if you actually combine the sword with it, I mean, you kind of got a crossbow thing going on. I don't know if that's intentional. Now, there is a tab to line it up to peg it back in, just like so. And it's like it keeps it straight, so you don't have to worry about it turning and getting crooked. I know how annoying that can be. Other than that, this is a nice looking simplified version of Hot Rod. I know we've, over the last year or so, have gotten a couple versions of Hot Rod, and This is a nice smaller scale one. Originally, there was some belief that the core class was going to be to scale with the Ark. We know that to be untrue. These are just smaller scale, cheaper versions of some of the more, pardon the pun, core Transformer characters. Some of them, like Rat Trap, are unscaled to the larger figures. Some of them, like Hot Rod, Optimus Prime, Soundwave, are just smaller versions of your favorites. Well, enough of my ramblings. Let's just go ahead and get into the transformation. First thing here, you want to pop up this front end. Now, I do want to point out, on the instructions, they do show right there where my thumb is, right there, that there should be two little tabs that peg into the holes or underneath right where my thumb is on the front of that car. As you can see, there is no mold flash, there is no whitening, there is no indication that anything broke off. That's a smooth molded piece, which means those tabs were removed. Basically, what you're relying on going into car mode to hold this whole front end down is a tab section right in there that you really have to press and fiddle with to get it to hold. But when we go back to car mode, I'll point that out. Once that's up, what you want to do then is come in and split the rear section of the vehicle. And that in turn will begin to split the front, what was the front section. And it actually pegs in very tight underneath here. It kind of like slides in as an accordion. And you're going to, when you open it up, you're unpegging the legs from each other, but you're also unpegging them from this back fin. And you can just go ahead and bring that up. Don't bring it forward yet. You're going to need the space. The instructions show you bringing it forward, but really, not until you have the arms unpegged here from the front can that tab back into place. So what you want to do then is fold these panels up, just like so. And I will say some of the hinges here on the legs are a little loose, but they're not too bad. And once you have that done, bring the figure around and accordion the legs down so they shimmy into place just like so. And you basically have Hot Rod done there. The next step is to unpeg the arms from the side and bring them down on that shoulder joint. There are two places where they clip in. Right there where my finger is, there's that tab, and there inside on the waist. Now, I gotta say, the shoulder joint here, those pegs, very tight fit. I am happy about that. So that's kind of cool that they're able to do that. Let me just adjust something here. So once that's all done, bring up the backpack and it will snap peg into place on the back of the figure. And there you have Hot Rod in its robot mode. Bring in the sword. It'll peg right into the hand. You do have ball joints in the shoulders and elbows, as well, in the hips and knees. That gives you a lot of swiveling. That can be good, that can be bad, depending on how you look at things. And yes, the head rotates. It's also very hollow in the back. That, I think, is due to the nature of the transformation. I mean, the hips are actually fairly tight. It's really the knees that are a little bit loose. Of course, that can change over time. There's a Hot Rod doing the Hot Rod kick. Let me try to get him facing the right direction. Hot Rod kick! So, no waist articulation, obviously, because of how everything pegs together. I wasn't sure if I was going to like the sword, but I kind of do. Of course, you still have his wrist, the exhaust blasters that you can use and stuff like that. Moving the arm around, you do bump into the fin a little. So if it loosens up, you just peg it back into place. But yeah, it's a nice little representation of hot rod. So let's talk about transforming it back into its vehicle mode, shall we? Okay. And the reason I'm doing this is, like I said, the instructions kind of miss a couple points. So, step 1, remove the sword. Return the figure to a neutral pose. Now, they show you bringing the arms up and pegging them into place before moving the fin. I think it's a little bit easier to do this when moving the fin. And then you just bring it up and turn it around so you can see what you're doing. And like I said, there's a tab here that's going to go into a slot in the arm. That's actually going to snap right into place. You might be a little hesitant to use that much force, but trust me, it'll get it in. Just like so. Maybe work with the armpit joint a little. There you go. Got that all snapped in. Next, what you want to do is bring out the legs, angle them out slightly, just like that. Turn the whole thing over. Now, they show folding these out at 2 steps, but just go ahead and extend these back panels. And at this point, bring the tail, the fin back. And really what you're going to do now is tabs here on the fin are going to go into the gaps there, and then the legs are going to pop together. There's like a little teeth joint there. Make sure, yep, snap into place. Then what you're going to do is try to peg the oh, that worked. The roof piece together. Bring that up. No, bring it down. Once you get it into place here, and you peg it down. Remember, you're relying on the peg that's under the windshield to hold everything into place. And once you get that, oh, worked right the first time. There you go. Peg the sword on if you want to store it like that. And there we have Hot Rod back in its vehicle mode. It's an intuitive transformation once you do it a couple times. Unfortunately, there is a little bit of gapping, but like I said, if you want to take the time, massage the parts a little bit right there, I'm sure you can clean things up. The looser the ball joints, the harder the time you're going to have to do it. That's just the nature of the beast. But yeah, we'll pause and we'll come back with my final thoughts. I dig Hot Rod. I didn't think I was going to like him that much, but it's a fun figure to work with. Just keep in mind the little points of the transformation I mentioned, and I think you should be fine. Other than that, there's really nothing more to say. Just remember, if you can't find it now, or you don't want to, it will be released later on in the Legacy line. Command Store is the closest I've been able to find that's a U.S. shipped seller and has it close to retail. With that, as I said in the beginning, last wave, last figure might be harder to find on retail shelves, but definitely do not pay the scalper markup that a lot of places are charging, especially to bring it in from overseas. With that said, that's the end of the review. If you like this review, please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing. While I will always appreciate the views, your likes, comments, and subscriptions will help to communicate to YouTube through their algorithms that my channel should be exalted and held upon high. And for this first month of the new year, January, that is very important since ad revenue tends to be a little bit lower than usual. Speaking of which, if you'd like to make the ultimate sign of support to my channel, please consider signing up for my Patreon. It's www.patreon.com/chuckdog1999. All I ask for is $1 a month, $12 a year. No thrills, no tears, no special rewards. All you're doing is helping me help you to help me help you bring figures like Hot Rod to you, as well as keeping up the infrastructure of the channel. But as I always say, if you like to make the old, if you can't do the $1 a month, $12 a year, your views are more than thanks enough. Patreon is just a cherry on top of an already generous sundae. There's a hyperlink in the description below and an information card in the upper right-hand corner. That being said, I think Kingdom went out on a high note with this figure. So, it's your old pal Chuck for Hot Rod, pouring one out for the homies. We will see you next time.